It finally happened, right? This has always been hanging over our heads ever since the Fox Disney merger. Aliens was eventually going to cross over with Marvel. It was bound to happen. There is no stopping something like this. It is the perfect killing machine, if you will. Marvel Star Wars crossover, eventual merging into one universe will happen. It is predetermined. There is no stopping it. This one's a little bit easier to pull off because all you have to do is have Marvel heroes facing up against the aliens. That's a story that can be pulled off in a number of different ways. So let's look at the first issue. I'm going to lay my cards on the table about some thoughts I have about all this stuff. I tend to not like these types of crossovers. It's not that I hate them, it's just whenever a superhero universe crosses over with another universe, I feel instead of elevating both franchises, crossovers like this tend to bring their weakest storytelling and turns most characters kind of generic. A while back, there was some artwork of an Alex Ross, Kurt Busiek potential Star Wars DC crossover that was going to happen. And Kurt Busiek, can't believe I said his name wrong again. Kurt Busiek is one of my favorite writers, and Alex Ross, worth going into how good Alex Ross is as an artist? I don't know. I feel like that's saying you love air. Of course Alex Ross is great. And I would love to see them do a take on Star Wars and DC, but why does it have to be the whole universe? DC versus Star Wars. Why not just Superman versus Star Wars? With these crossovers, especially as it's happening now in modern day, is that they are insistent on the whole universe crossing over. I'm not really a huge fan of this because I don't think you can tell a compelling story with like 40 main characters in the short amount of time comics gives you. By their very nature must be condensed mediums. You have to be a little economical with your storytelling. It's why every noteworthy fantasy comic has to run for 30 years. It takes a while to tell a complete fantasy story in the form of comic books. If you have a serious desire to write a fantasy comic, one, you should. There aren't enough. But two, there's a good chance you're going to be telling that story for the rest of your life. That is a very major commitment you're taking. It also frustrates me, fundamentally, that this is a crossover with the Avengers. You know, Avengers is the big moneymaker, but there's a perfectly logical, much more reasonable group of superheroes that this could have crossed over with, who are also very popular. I feel what happens is, instead of this being interesting, it's just kind of a greatest hits collection of all of the most memorable moments from both franchises, and that's essentially it. It's just more fan service, and what do you expect for a crossover? And I expect what I expect for every story: good storytelling. I want to have a good story that I am entertained by, that has characters I like, doing interesting things. I'm sorry if that sounds like I'm asking for the moon, but it's actually not a moon. It's a star base. See, that wasn't funny. That was just me making a reference. An incorrect reference, too. Having said that, what do I think of this? Honestly, it's pretty okay. Even though it does all the things I claim I hate. I don't know, if you're looking for a coherent, critical philosophy, I don't have one. I kind of think the comic is elevated by how good the art is. The art is realistic, but it's moody and even scary in a way that story about the alien does a bold narrative choice of having this being the invasion of Earth that the movies have extensively been promising for a good while. First issue takes place sometime in the distant future. A lot of our superheroes are still around, but they're much older now. We've got a group of cone-headed alien bastards seeding worlds with xenomorphs. And they've been doing a lot of tests with famous Marvel-branded aliens, like the Kree and the Skrull, which I'm almost certain we're eventually going to see at some point. The state of the universe is dire. The xenomorphs have been, in fact, destroying most of the universe. Even though this is a little bit blatant exposition, it's fine. Sometimes you just need to do that. Does establish how much of an issue really quickly on the xenomorphs actually are. What a problem it is to let them seed on Earth. Within a month, they already have an army. Who's still around in this far future? Well, Black Panther, but also the Hulk, Miles Morales, and Carol Danvers. The cover here, it promises a lot more characters in the next issue, so we'll see how that goes. Earth is near totally destroyed except for an outpost controlled by Weyland-Yutani. The first issue is about Hulk's niece making a pretty major mistake. See, she's a scientist, and she thinks she has a way of finally defeating them, but instead it all goes wrong and the alien latches. It escapes and attaches onto Miles. Just as I was about to go on a long digression, of course, Miles is the first one who gets killed. This is a horror movie. They're going to follow that trope. Turns out Miles is wearing the symbiote suit, and the symbiote and the facehugger merge into one. Which is one of those premises that's kind of neat, I guess. It does reattach to Miles and gives him an honestly Really good looking suit. That's a great suit, in fact. Maybe that should just be his suit. Like that looks amazing. I love it. Now, I was ready to hate this comic because that's just me, natural born hater. Not the greatest comic ever made, and it definitely won't stick with me, but for the idea that they used, it certainly is more elevated than it should be. And the art, I think, really props this up. Who knows? Maybe the next issue will be a masterpiece, and I will have to eat my hat. It should be noted, I wear a hat made of pure candy. It's the hat I'm referring to. There's been better uses of both these media franchises, God, I hate that word, before, but it's certainly not the worst, and you could do worse than spend your time looking at this one.